Hi there, namaste, and welcome back to another spiritualistic pick a card reading. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here and let you know that you are loved. Today's reading is very, very special because it is in collaboration with my dear friend Vineet, the Tarot Yogi, and I am extra excited because this is a topic very close to home. Today we're going to be channeling messages to you from the Ashtangas, from the 8 limbs of yoga. So we do each have 4 piles, with each one of the piles dedicated towards a specific anga or limb part of yoga, according to Patanjali's Raja Yoga system. So, please take a deep breath, drawing the energy up your spine, creating a clear and open channel on the inhale. And as you exhale, allow yourself to come into clear knowing which group or groups has your message in it for you today. We have group number 1 with Befriend Your Ego, talking about the Yamas. Group number 2 with Exploring Patience, talking about the NIYAMAs. Group number 3 with You've Been Called, talking about ASANA. And group number 4 with Cellular Healing, talking about PRANAYAMA. Due to the nature of this reading, please at some point make an effort to go around to all 8 piles, as each and every one is just as important as the other 7. However, please follow your intuition and see what you feel guided towards in the here and now. And when you are guided to, if you are guided to, please take your time exploring the rest, as they are all 8 pieces of one whole system that are beautiful and intentional. As always, the timestamps to your reading will be listed below in the description box, as well as all the rest of my information for personal readings, Reiki, my tarot and oracle decks, along with my books and things that I like to create. You will also find the link to Vineet's channel over at the Tarot Yogi, as well as his part of this collaboration, where he's tapping into messages from Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So thank you again so very much for being here. You are loved, you are divine, you are appreciated. I'll see you at your reading. Namaste. Hi there, group number 1, namaste, and welcome to your reading. Today, we are taking a look at messages to you from the 8 limbs of yoga. You selected the first group with Befriend Your Ego, and the first limb, YAMA. Before I pull your cards, let's talk about YAMA a bit. YAMA indicates your harmony within the world, the way that you interact with all that is outside of you. It is your physical, tangible approach to honoring the divine, all the way up to the Samadhi and everything. YAMA is very, very important because it is the way that once one has attained different stages of Samadhi, once one has worked their way through the very top of the system, it leads them back down to the YAMA system, and so on and so forth. The reason why I mention it like this is because there are 5 parts of YAMA. This is a way for you to tap in with harmony in the mind, body, spirit, thoughts, words, actions. And the first YAMA is Ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. It also means to have kindness and compassion for all that is around you. Many yogis, in their Ahimsa practice, they will choose to be as kind as they can to others. They choose a path of non-violence, meaning that they won't step on the ant, they won't squash the fly. Many of them do not eat meat, although the way that everyone manifests these will be different. But with Ahimsa, you are releasing violence and violent intentions. This is releasing ill will. It is allowing yourself to treat others the way that you want to be treated, but seeing that this is the external manifestation of such. Yama looks at the way that you are treating others. And the first one with non-violence. Ahimsa, with gentle, kind, compassionate, loving nature. Treating every living being like a beautiful butterfly that has landed upon you. Treating every living being like it is the divine. The second part of Yama, the second Yama, is called Satya. Now you've heard me talk about this one a lot. Satya is Sanskrit for truth. And it, as a Yama, means truthfulness. It means that you are in 100 commitment to living in your truth and honoring your genuine intentions. This is one that goes deep. They all do. And through Satya, this is a way where you continue to open up your self-realization. And it's also a way that you allow yourself to interact with the world in a way that honors you the best, but it also leaves no guesswork around you. The words that you speak are true. The actions that you take are right and just according to your own intentions, and you are forthright and clear, truthful and honest about those intentions. Satya does relate with the throat chakra, and it is a common practice for those to meditate on the word Satya as well. Again, truthfulness. The third Yama is Asteya. Asteya means not stealing, and it also means living in abundance. It means the way that you interact with the world is so much so that you do not want for anything that is outside of yourself, and this one leads us to another one later, so hold on. You do not feel the need to take. You are no longer having the intention to have possessions or to want something that someone else has. You don't see that someone else has that car you really want and say, oh, look, shiny. You don't see that someone else has a level of consciousness that you admire and say, oh, look, shiny. Asteya is non-stealing. This is not wanting to vibrationally siphon energies from those around you. This is honoring that you are enough. You have enough. You are abundant. And so in a more modernized spiritual community sense of the term, Asteya can loosely be translated to living in an abundance mindset. However, let's keep in mind that this is in the way that you interact with the world. So, this is saying that perhaps someone offers you their last cupcake. Maybe your friend has a whole tin of cupcakes and you are full. You need not, you want not, your sweet tooth isn't even going off, and your friend offers you a cupcake. Asteya would say to say no, even though it's being offered to you. Again, this does mean non-stealing, and I'm being drawn to like the 10 Commandments of Christianity, where they say do not covet your neighbor's wife, for example. Everything is in its perfect place in the universe. What is yours belongs to you, what is not does not, and all is all. We don't really own anything, because from the divine perspective, from that divine nature, and this is one of the ways that the yamas tie into all of the rest of the limbs of yoga. This is not wanting anything that doesn't belong to you, because you are on the path of realizing that both nothing and everything truly belongs to you. So if someone else is holding on to something, it is not for you to hold on to. And if something is in your life, it is because it is divinely intended to be there. Interacting with the world in a sense of abundance. Non-stealing, not just in action, but in intention, in emotion, in thought. Beautiful. The fourth out of 5 yamas is brahmacharya. Now, Brahma means creator. In the Godhead Krishna, in a few different belief systems, and this is yoga, so we'll follow the structure and apply it to your own belief system as necessary, but this is a trinity system. There is Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, Maheshvara, the destroyer. So, as we take a look at this, Charya means to follow the creator, the divine within Brahma, brahmacharya. I have also heard it translated as following the higher self. That is what I learned in my my personal yoga teacher training. But in the Sanskrit, it means to to follow the creator within, the divine within. And the way that brahmacharya manifests as a yama, the way that you exist with the world, is to know that you are not just your body, but that you are infinite, you are divine, and that means refraining from sensual pleasures. Brahmacharya has many different forms. This can look like abstaining from sex. This can look like abstaining from substance use, from drinking. It can look like abstaining from certain situations that might not be safe or comfortable or even devotional. And some brahmacharis, as they are called, will go so far as to devote themselves to knowing that because they do not want anything outside of themselves, asteya, they do not take, they do not consume. This is where breatharians might fall underneath the category. This is where we find beautiful beings, such as Mahavatar Babaji, one of my personal Param Gurus on the yogic path. This is where we find energies who sustain themselves off of that life force energy. And so, for some, this might mean not to engage in casual sex. For some, it might mean to kick that drinking habit. And for others, it might also be to wander without shelter, to not perhaps consume food because you gain energy from all that ever is because you are infinite. And of course, these are never things to jump into all the way. However, there is a reason why they say that practicing the Yama and NIYAMA system fully will tap you into the siddhis, or yogic superpowers, that we often hear with divine self-realized yogis and gurus and amazing beings like this. So, the fifth and final yama before we get into your cards is aparigraha, or aparigraha, depending on how you're saying it. Now this means, and you'll see how these weave together, non-possession, non-accumulation, self-reliance. This is where you will see many devotees interacting with the world in a way where, well, this is the aspect where they might not have a home. They might rely on the universe, source, the infinite, to provide for them their food, their water, their sustenance, their next step. And it does not need to be as extreme either. However, aparigraha, non-possessiveness, is not accumulating. This means not accumulating karma. One way I love to describe karma, for those who are still learning how it works, is, well, I'll use two examples that I commonly use. If you have a bunch of dirty dishes and you leave them in the sink, your karma will then be to do the dishes. And you can make some more food, use different dishes and put them in the sink, and eventually that will accumulate. Another way that I like to describe this is if you pick something up, your karma will then be to put something down. But if you pick something up and you pass it along, eventually you will still have that karma to put something down, regardless of where the original item ended up. And so we can put something down and then we'll pick something else up so that we can put it down, and then we have more karma, and then it's just this system, this cycle. So non-accumulation. This can be refraining from things such as fast fashion, if we look at it in a hyper-modernized sense. If we look at it in a very devotional sense, we can see devotees who collect only the coins that they receive from kind strangers and use that to feed their entire shala, their entire ashram, their entire temple, their entire community. Aparigraha means knowing yourself, having confidence in your existence and your capability, so much so that you do not need that extra coffee mug. You do not need 5 sweatshirts. You do not need, for some, 10 homes. For others, even 1. Now, the way that these fit into your life, it is the way that you interact with the world again. So it is going to be a personalized journey for all who engage with the yamas. And that is why the card that came out today for you is Befriend Your Ego. Befriend your ego. Now, one last thing before we move on with Aparigraha is knowing that you can be confident in self, in infinite source, God energy. You do not need more than you have, which kind of leads back to Asteya. You are aware that your intentions are pure, and so you have what you need because you're living in truth, you're living in Satya. You also are not engaging in owning or having or wanting or taking things that might be considered desires of the flesh instead of divine intention. Here we have brahmacharya. And because you are not succumbing to pleasures of the flesh, because you are not wanting things that other people have, because you do not have an overabundance that leads you to wanting more, which can dive you into things such as perhaps gluttony or jealousy or greed or lust, we see that it is easy to practice ahimsa, non-violence. And so, here we have the 5 yamas: non-violence, ahimsa; truthfulness, satya; non-stealing, asteya; brahmacharya, following, or celibacy, self-restraint, following that higher self; and aparigraha, non-accumulation. So, the message that wants to come out for you today, Group 1, from the yamas, is to be your own friend. Trust that you are who you're supposed to be, and trust that there's always more to go. The word ego is quite a touchy subject in the spiritual community, and I love that we are pulling this card alongside this topic. Because your ego, your true, genuine ego, is nothing other than divine, infinite nature. And who you are is also intentional and perfect. You are meant to grow. You are meant to evolve. You are meant to, well, yoga means divine union. It means getting closer with God. It means getting closer with Source, the divine light source, however you resonate with this energy. And we have, say, ego deaths, and we awaken and we realize ourselves and we stand in our power and we shed all of that, and we have our ego deaths and we stand in our power again, and it's this cycle of chipping away until we find that pure center, which is nothing other than the infinite, nothing other than that divine friendship that has been within you all along, that divine friendship that you are portraying in the world by practicing your yamas, showing up in a way that allows you to give off a clean, pure, genuine, truthful, divine energy. The way that you are interacting with the world is pure because you are your own friend. When you are your own friend, you are friends with the divine. And when you are friends with yourself and the divine, you are friends with everything. Because all is one is all just is. So, as you look at your ego, and it's no longer a scary word, and it's no longer something that makes you quiver or side-eye, the way that you interact with Source, with God, with the universe, with the infinite, your connection with God, number 7, 1 and 7, the Aries and Libra, your connection with God, and your connection with relationships, also 7th house, right? And also your connection with yourself. These are all one and the same. And so when you are being non-violent towards that animal, when you are not stepping on that plant, when you are choosing not to be violent towards that bug or that child or that person, when you are choosing peace, you are treating yourself with peace. You are treating God with peace. When you are truthful with someone around you, you are being truthful with yourself, and you're being truthful with God. When you are not wanting something that the divine has, when you're not on your manifestation station and trying to just want this and want this and want this, when you are instead not wanting anything that is outside of you, because you don't need anything outside of you. You don't want anything other than God. Getting close in that divine friendship. With this comes all of the blessings of the material realm, because you do not need to take something that is anywhere other than where it is. You do not feel the need to reorganize something that is already part of the divine plan, asteya. And because of this, you calm that nervous system. You calm that mind. You are not having brain chemicals going all over the place all of the time, because you're not constantly having input that is numbing the senses. You are cleansing it out. You are cleansing it out. You are allowing yourself to restrain yourself. And this allows you to feel from the inside out that genuine beauty and bliss that comes from being connected with that intimate, infinite divine friendship, brahmacharya. And because of this, how could you want anything more when all of the cosmos and beyond are at your feet? They are you. You are them. And what else could you possibly want except to get closer and more deeply ingrained in this divine friendship? So here we have, for you, Group 1, befriend your ego, because you are your own best friend. If you are your own best friend will also be the divine, infinite source, God. And you will also be able to treat others in this way. It is so important that we continue our internal self-reflection, but also take a look at the way that we are interacting with the world. Where can you implement more restraint? Where can you implement more truthfulness? Where can you be a person that you are proud of, that makes you want to befriend your ego? Where if you knew you were always being watched, you were always being heard, you were always being seen, you were always being felt, every thought, every emotion, every particle of your being, how would you behave if you knew God was all within and around all the time? And you were allowing that to work through you to the point where it became the way that you interacted with the world. YAMA. So, 4 of Wands and the 9 of Coins. Here we have allowing yourself to make a home within yourself. Allowing yourself to be happy, to have enough, to honor where you are, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of your preconceived notion of what it should look like. Self-fulfillment, self-realization, God fulfillment, God realization, and of course God, source, light, divine, infinite. Words are words, okay? It is the intention that we understand here, making that choice to interact with the world, making that choice to get closer to source, to light, to God, to the divine. And letting that mean seeing that within ourselves. And letting that mean behaving in that way too. Okay, messages from, let's find the consciousness of the YAMA, those particles of that idea, that God realized idea of YAMA. Messages from you, please, to group number 1. The Tower. some of the things that you heard today may not be within your comfort zone. Some of you might not want to stop going out with your friends to the club on Saturday nights. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you're a social drinker. You don't want to put that down. Maybe you have a hard time thinking about celibacy. Maybe you don't want to live a minimalist lifestyle. There are some things that you heard today that will help you progress in your emotional wellness, your emotional fulfillment, that you are being encouraged to not be so quick to pass judgment upon. You're being called to allow things to take place, allow things to shift. You're not wrong. However, you are being encouraged to allow the seed to have been planted and let it grow as it grows. It will not grow in an environment that does not suit it, but that seed will be there, whether it's for today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. Just allow yourself to receive the fact that there may be more fulfillment out there, more bliss out there. You might live in a place like New York City or Los Angeles, where perhaps you look around and you see quite the opposite of everything that we've spoken about so far. And that might be the very reason why you are here, being called to embody these energies. And this isn't to speak about, look what I do, look what I follow, but it is to hold that beacon of light, because consciously or subconsciously, it gets picked up upon. And so messages that came through so far today, you were guided to be here. This is not an accident. But just as you would feel yourself interacting with the world, just as you might feel, oh, but it's so weird to not want to do that, even though morally it feels like divine to act like that. This is you cleansing out karma. This is already non-accumulation. This is already satya, exploring what that means. This is already taking another step to befriend yourself, to befriend the divine, to befriend. This is that self-exploration, that self-realization. No one said you needed to rip anything off like a band-aid, but also, I'm hearing this song, it's a Coldplay song. Nobody said it was easy. Well, let's go back to the start. The Scientist. Interesting. Oh, this isn't scientifically proven. Actually, it is. Yoga science is ancient, and it is actually scientifically proven with Western science. And if you want more details upon that, I will reference you to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Swami Vivekananda has so many books that talk about this system as well. You can also look at The Holy Science by another Param Guru of mine in the same lineage as Babaji and Paramahansa Yogananda, where I personally study under. He has a book called The Holy Science, yes, by Swami Sri Yukteswar. These will show you. There's also a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets that is beautiful and speaks about this very scientifically. Because this is about, as you might hear in the spiritual community a lot, DNA activation, cellular healing, cellular awakening. And this is what this is. The atom. There's a biblical reference, or is it a scientific reference? Let's see. Or is it a reference to Brahma, Brahmacharya? Everything comes full circle, everything is connected, everything is intertwined. And so we have here the beginning of something new. We have something here, the building block of nature. And what is the nucleus? What is at the core? Is it nonviolence? Is it truth? Is it abundance? Is it self-restraint? Is it non-possession? Generosity? Divine? Because inherently it is. And this journey is merely about remembering the divine within oneself. Oh, we have the Seven of Wands to the Seven of Cups. Okay. So group 1, your messages coming out here today are to trust that you were divinely led to be here, and that the situations in your life that might cause a bit of friction towards some of these ideas, You are also divinely intended to be there. Now, some of you will be brushing off some of this, and it'll be coming back around later, and that's fine. Others of you will be releasing some things in your life because you feel recalibrated. This is also beautiful. You are being encouraged to find those that resonate with you, because this is YAMA, the way you interact with the world. And with this, you will find that if you are around people who are not truthful with themselves, they cannot be truthful with you. They're not truthful in their connection with the divine either. They might not even look at it in the face or acknowledge it. That doesn't make it non-existent, but this shows you where they are on their path of realizing that the divine is the self. The self is the divine. This is where we have befriend your ego. You are being encouraged to surround yourself with people who hold the same values as you. You are being encouraged to surround yourself with people who are not afraid to live in abundance, who are not afraid to show a little bit of restraint, determination in their life. And it's not saying that you only need to hang out with nuns and monks and devotees, but it is saying that you are not surrounding yourself with people who are so engrossed in the sensual pleasures of life, whether that be sex, or it be something like anger, or it be something like substance abuse, or it be something like gossiping. Allowing yourself to find those who genuinely seek joy and bliss and love, and letting yourself be in those surroundings. And they do exist. They do. There is a bit of an energy where, now, I feel called to speak about the hermit part of the journey just a smidge. When you are doing the internal work, when you are shifting, when you are growing, when you are becoming that new version of yourself, you feel as though perhaps you don't really align anymore with the surroundings that you used to be in. But you are not yet ready, so solidified in that sense of self. You have not befriended that new version of yourself. You have not fully solidified it to the fact where it is impenetrable to the point where it is in these surroundings. And so this is where, when you're in this hermit mode, when you feel like, oh, well, all my friends want to do is something that I probably will get demonetized for mentioning on YouTube. And you were like, well, those are my friends, though. That is valid. You can love beings, you can love energies, but not being violent about that, letting yourself be abundant without that, and being truthful in that why. Interacting with the world in that way, allowing yourself to follow your higher self, your intuition, when it says, hey, this is not something that's conducive to our growth as an individual, not something that's conducive to our growth as a collective, perhaps, as a soul. Or this is not something, if you just really want to bring it bare bones, this is not something that helps us get closer to God, to Source, to light. If it is, you follow that. And if it's not, you don't. And this is not to say that one cannot be a human. This is not to say that one does not get to interact with the human world as a human. And in fact, I also channeled a message from Mahavatar Babaji that's releasing today, but it's going on my Inner Circle channel, on my subscription, and then you click join on my exclusive channel here on YouTube. And I think it was very resonant how the dates lined up for this, because I didn't plan it. I actually allowed Vineet to select the date that we posted this. And it just so happened to be the day that my message from Babaji came out. And he talked about even your intrinsic humanity is the divine incarnate. So don't be so hard on yourself. And this brings us to the NIYAMA reading, which I will recommend that you check out after this if you feel called. But this brings you to honoring yourself. The way that you interact with the world, shifting, YAMA. But also the way that you interact with yourself, finding harmony within yourself, NIYAMA. The way you take care of that. And this is the bridge energy into this. So then what? So then what do I do? So then how do I act? So then if this is the way that I'm interacting with the outside world, then how do I interact with myself? And while they're one and the same, they are two inverse concepts. And so honoring one is honoring the divine. Honoring self is honoring others. Honoring God is honoring the self, and so on and so forth. And here, you're being encouraged, 7, the Fool, Temperance. You're being encouraged to tap in with that crown chakra a bit. You feel like you either have a very strong crown chakra or it's been asking, like buzzing, asking for some attention from you. And so the concept of YAMA, incarnate, I love my job, would like to speak with you today about letting yourself find those who resonate with your truth, with your sense of self, your definition of what divinity is, your definition of honesty, your definition of truth. Oh yeah, we love Joe Schmo, but you know, almost every word out of his mouth is a lie. You can still love Joe Schmo, but remember that we are an accumulation of the people that we spend our time around. Our environment and our genetics, our environment and our DNA make up large parts of who we are. These are the resources that we have to build upon. And so, tapping in with that crown chakra, what if instead you spent more time with the divine? What if instead you spent more time, instead of buying shoes or drinking alcohol, what if that time was spent in prayer or meditation or contemplating what it means to live in satya, in truth? So I'm going to leave you with that, since we're bridging a bit into NIYAMA, and I love the way that these flow because this is the way the system is set up. Thank you so much for being here, group number 1. This was your message from the Ashtangas, and YAMA specifically. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, week, month, year, and incarnation in this beautiful realm. If you would like to listen to messages from NIYAMA, ASANA, and PRANAYAMA, stay tuned. And if you would like to listen to messages from Pratyahara, Dharana, and Dhyana, and Samadhi, please check out Vineet's reading below in the description box. If you would like more information on this, you can always check out the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and also connect with your local yogic community in one that honors yogic philosophy, yogic science. And with all that being said, I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm sending you all my love, light, and gratitude, and I'll see you next time. Namaste. Hi, group number 2. Namaste and welcome to your reading. Thank you so very much for being here. Today we're taking a look at a message to you from the Ashtangas, the 8 limbs of yoga, and you selected the second group with the NIYAMAs and the Exploring Patience card. Before I get into your cards, let's talk a bit about the NIYAMAs. NIYAMA means harmony within yourself. If you're coming from pile 1, then you've learned that YAMA means harmony with the world, and NIYAMA means harmony with you, harmony with yourself. And so NIYAMA is a yogic manifestation of self-care, in a sense. Now, there are 5 NIYAMAs, just as there are 5 yamas, and so I will speak about each one with you just a bit so that you can become a bit more familiar with what it is that we are exploring today. Pun intended, and you will find out why. So, the first NIYAMA is called Socha. And Socha means purity or cleanliness. It is an honor and a duty for yourself to keep yourself clean, inside and outside as well. You will notice that it is a common practice to engage in what are called the Mala Kriyas, which can be times for you to cleanse yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit. There are certain techniques that are put in place for you to find purity. Purity of the mind, purity of the body, purity of the spirit, purity of your environment. And so, the first NIYAMA Socha has everything to do with making sure that you are taking care of your hygiene. But this isn't just bathing yourself, although it is not limited to this, and it does include this. This is taking your daily showers. One of the Malakriyas actually recommends that you do purging, that you do some sort of bodily toxin releasal at least once a month, so that you reverse the flow of any acid or anything that might be uncomfortable for your body to process. Socha also indicates cleanliness of your environment, making sure that you are breathing fresh, clean, purified air, making sure that your mind is clean, pure, and clear. And this is a way where you can find cleanliness inside and outside. This is where our cleansing practices come in spiritually, whatever you are most comfortable with, but also expanding that to, yes, your aura, yes, your energy of your room, but also making sure that things like your windowsill is clean of the dust. Making sure that you shower in the morning, you cleanse yourself under the water and in divine light, so that when you begin your day, you are no longer wearing the energy, the karmas of the day before, or that you may have experienced during your sleep. It is a great way to start your day, to cleanse in the morning or at night. But in Ashtanga yoga and in Ayurveda, it is recommended to wash yourself, to cleanse, to shower in the mornings, right when you wake up, before even practicing asana. And so the first niyama, socha, it is cleanliness, but it's also purity. It is allowing yourself to be pure with yourself, to keep yourself, your hygiene clean, keep yourself, your environment clean, keep your mind clean, happy, purified, keep those emotions clean, happy, purified, and keep that heart purified. Now, when we say having a purified heart, having a purified mind, having a purified body, there are many different practices that intertwine with this. However, the energy of purity is one vibration. And so we find this as perhaps light, as God, as source, as self, divine self, in meditation. We cleanse all that is apart from this in our baths, in our showers. We do the work, perhaps on our yoga mat or in the gym or getting our steps in order to cleanse all perhaps of that tension in the muscles, all of that impurity of the mind, all of the propelled nature perhaps of the heart. And of course, to keep your body clean, to honor the vessel that you have chosen to incarnate within, because you do have one. With socha, it is important to recognize that this is not just cleansing and purification, it's also beautification. So things that also fall under socha is taking care of your skin, taking care of your hair. We have things like face yoga and perhaps Reiki and massage. We have beautiful, beautiful things such as perhaps growing your hair out, or alternatively shaving. Beautification of the self. Tapping in with that divine water, that divine ocean, that divine wave, and allowing it to purify yourself inside and out. And this is a little taste of Kriya. It's a little taste of that purification. And it can come manifest in many different ways. Now the second niyama is santosha. And this is contentment. It's happiness. Santosha means to be content with your surroundings, inside and outside, because remember that niyama is the way that you find harmony within yourself. And so, Santosha, in a lot of ways, is allowing yourself to release reaction and even release response to your external surroundings, because everything is the way that it was intended to be. Everything is good and getting better. Everything is divinely orchestrated, and you are the divine that is orchestrating these things. And so under Santosha, we will find spiritual concepts such as dabbling with, say, divine timing, or exploring patience, as your card mentions today. With Santosha, this is the practice of being unconditionally happy. And what do we think of when we think of unconditionality? We think of unconditional love. We think of gratitude. And this is your straight tap into that divine bliss, Ananda. This is your straight tap into being happy, being, as in the spiritual community we call it, healed, but you are never broken. And this is in and of itself, I know, but here we have Saucha, cleaning the mind, that cleansing of the mind. And it brings us to Santosha, being unconditionally happy. Because with a pure mind, with a pure heart, with a pure body, with a pure spirit, there is nothing to be upset about. In fact, there is nothing called upset that even exists. And this is not spiritual bypassing, which I know is a trigger term right now. It is, in fact, honoring the divine perfection within and without, as above, so below. And what is above is divine, what is below is divine. What is above is perfect, what is below is perfect. And the bridge of Socha and Santosha, the NIYAMAs, this is very much as within, so without. Your connection with yourself, the way that your internal state is, this is what we are taking a look at today. Your internal state is purified, and your body is part of this. Your body is the smallest part of your being, and your being expands way far beyond your body, to the point where you will understand more deeply why your skin is considered an organ, because it is still inside that grand being of yours. It is not a wrapping paper. And so the practice of being unconditionally happy, Santosha today, is the way that you can find harmony within yourself by, yes, trusting in the divine, trusting that you are divine, and trusting that in both, honoring both natures of this. Something greater than you has your back, and also you are that thing that has your back. Santosha is the NIYAMA that brings supreme happiness. And this is also considered one of the siddhis, one of the yogic superpowers. Because the more that you move from gratitude and unconditional love, the more you see gratitude and unconditional love. The more that you understand that anything that is perceived as other than this is a distortion of truth, a distortion of light. And this is where things such as divine projections of impure bodies, impure feelings, impure thoughts, impure environments are brought up. And through the purification process, through the NIYAMAs, you're able to purify these. I do feel really drawn in this reading to, again, mention to you the Mala Kriyas, so you may want to look into that. So, the practice of being unconditionally happy. It starts with making a gratitude list, maybe one in the morning, one at night, or both. It starts with honoring that everything is. Everything is perfect, and then everything is. And this connects you with higher consciousness. And it is infinitely expanding, and there's always more to go. And it does lead you through patience. It leads you through energetic sensitivity. It leads you through, you are a mirror of your outside surroundings, and your outside surroundings are a mirror of you. And so releasing that reaction, that response, is almost releasing that middleman energy. And so we have contentment, we have happiness, understanding that everything is exactly as it should be. And that anything that is friction towards that is a distortion. It is a part of the Maya, the realm of illusion. And this is a Sanskrit term. Next, the next niyama we have, the next way to find harmony within yourself, is called tapas. Now, tapa is something that we hear a lot in the yogic community anyway. And this essentially means determination. It means following your duty, self-discipline. It can also be penance. Tapa manifests in many different ways. And this can be for the Ashtanga yogi. This can be showing up 5 to 6 days a week for your asana. This can be showing up for an hour every day, meditating or praying. This self-discipline, this can be showing up to school. This is that unshakable will of yours that comes from the unshakable will of the divine. And honoring yourself in order to have the discipline to show up to practice your yamas, the discipline to show up to practice the niyamas, the determination to show up to wake up at 6 a.m, or the determination to wake up and not skip school that day. Whatever it is, this is determination, it's self-discipline, it is also penance. This is your prayer and meditation, this is your spiritual hygiene, and it also is the way that you manifest your action in the world. And through this, the body and the senses become strengthened. And this eliminates the impurities, because when you have a divine will, when you are given a divine lesson, when you're given divine inspiration, you're able to then act upon it. Because you have grown the discipline within yourself. You have grown the sense of duty within yourself. This is where your mission, your life path activates. But it is not propelled from the heart. It is instead coming from divine will, divine orchestration, divine source, God, light, work through me, and I will show up. And this is tapas. It is the practice of willingly putting yourself in situations of perhaps difficulty, of perhaps paradoxes, of perhaps adversity. This is sitting down in meditation for an hour, even though your toes might get numb the first time. This is showing up around the people who might trigger you, so that you can understand how you can be harmonious, understand those triggers within you, and do that work to discipline yourself. This is telling yourself you're going to keep a dream journal, perhaps, and genuinely showing up to do so. This is telling yourself that you are going to complete a project, and you show up every day to do this. This is you devoting yourself. This is why tapas is so connected with devotion. And now we are noticing 2 other niyamas, the next 2, kind of being mentioned in the background here. So, tapas is putting yourself willingly in situations that might encourage you to strengthen yourself, strengthen your discipline, strengthen your sense of duty, and allow yourself to show up through determination, knowing that maybe your toes might go numb when you're sitting in full lotus meditating, but it gets easier every time, and it's showing up. That is what makes the difference. Tapas is conscious, divine, and devoted use of your time, of your resources, of your energy. So, this brings us to the next one. the next niyama is svadhyaya, or svadhyaya. This means self-examination, self-study. And this is where we started to notice that bridge between tapas. Your determination, your duty to show up, perhaps to get to know yourself, to meditate, which is a different anga in and of itself. But svadhyaya, self-examination, self-study, it's so beautiful and so important. It means that you are observing your thoughts, you are observing your emotions, you are doing that shadow work, you are pulling out that journal, you are keeping that dream journal. It's not the determination to show up to do so, that is tapas. But svadhyaya, this is your exploration of self. Why does that make me feel good? Why does that make me feel not so good? Why is this comfortable? Why is this uncomfortable? What am I being shown? And we have self-examination, self-study, which opens up and blossoms into self-realization. This is doing that internal deep dive so that you can find that light, that gratitude, that happiness, that bliss, that love, that infinite, that divine, that source within you. And so we have svadhyaya, the niyama, the way that you can find harmony within yourself is simply getting to know yourself, learning yourself. I was meditating on this when I was creating my guided self-exploration journal. Svadhyaya was the intention behind it, and it actually started out when I was meditating on this topic, and the whole journal came out of one of the questions that's in there. And it was, what do you wish someone outside of yourself asked you? What are you experiencing that you need an outlet for? What is it about yourself that you are learning, or that you have learned, that is unique to you? What are you learning? How are you studying yourself? And what is this teaching you about yourself? What is it that you can ask yourself instead of waiting for someone else to ask you? What is that question that no one else knows to ask? What is that? And now this is one of a million different things. But svadhyaya is so important, because this can be, it's observing your thoughts. It's when you sit down in meditation, and there are a million different ways to meditate, but we'll hear the good old-fashioned sit down, clear your mind. This is that moment of clear my mind. Well, there's this and there's that, and suddenly you have an iPhone home screen of all of the different things that are in your mind that you're drawing awareness to. This is learning yourself. And then you say, I'll close this mental app, and I'll close this mental app, and I'll maybe zoom in on this one and see what this one's all about. Hey, what are you doing here? This is self-study. And this is not just using that visualization technique. It is not just observing what's going on in your thoughts, but also observing all of the internal state. Svadhyaya, it can be something such as doing past life, future, or past, present, future parallel life regression. It can be understanding your dreams. It can be praying. Praying is when we speak to God, and intuition is when God responds back to us. And of course, God, source, light, divine, creator, infinite. Use your words as they fit right for you, but that's also learning that, a method of self-study. Learning what is happening inside of you so that you can then clear it, you can then understand it, you can then become happy and okay with it. Hey, I'm feeling a little wonky today, and guess what? I am happy with that. Whoa, that's kind of weird. Why do you feel like that's weird? And then you expand upon that. Well, because X, Y, and Z, and then one time this happened. Oh, okay. So how can we show up, tapas, to cleanse that saucha? And then how can we be inviting happiness into that santosha? And so they kind of work together like this. And the final niyama, way of finding harmony within yourself, is Ishvara Pranidhana. Now, Ishvara means divine, and Pranidhana means surrender. Surrender to God, surrender to divine, surrender to all that is. And this is self-surrender. And I know surrender can be a scary word, but it's also a liberating word. And this is the way that you can honor yourself, NIYAMA. Having devotion and love for that divine source, God, infinite beauty within and without you, above and below you. And honoring that you can let go and surrender to your higher self. And this lets you zoom out. It lets you see yourself in context of the entire beautiful infinite universe. It lets you see the divine within yourself and the divine outside of yourself to the place where you understand that you can easily practice santosha. You can easily be happy and content all of the time because, kind of how it was brought up earlier, you have the divine working through you, regardless of where you are conscious of it. Therefore, we have things like manifestation and the law of assumption and all of these beautiful things coming, the law of attraction coming in, because you are divine. You are magnetic, you are electric, you are electromagnetic, you are also divine. So, whether we're adding science to this, or whether we're adding spirituality into this, whether it's modern day esotericism, Ishvara Pranidhana is something that we see everywhere. We have DMT in our brains, okay? The divine molecule. We have following your intuition, listening to your higher self. We have bhakti, we have devotion, we have prayer, we have renunciation. The way that this manifests will be different for everybody, but Ishvara Pranidhana means to surrender yourself to the divine, to love being that wave so very much, but also not afraid to be the ocean again. And this is one way that you can honor yourself. And as you tap into this infinite, it awakens you into the other angas, the other limbs of yoga. And so, with this explanation of niyamas coming forth, we have your card Exploring Patience. And now this is a beautiful one. This is tackling head first time, resources, energy, tapas, self-determination, duty, patience. When you follow your higher self and it says, hey, just a little bit further, and you show up and you're determined and you do so. When you wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day and you're kind of cranky, but you get out of bed and you take that shower anyway, soja. And you are all clean, so you're feeling so much better. So you know what? Maybe you'll put some pep in your step and you'll show up and you'll put a smile on your face, get some sunshine, santosha. You know, everything's not so bad, is it? Exploring patience. And maybe your goal is 7 years away. But you have that determination. And what do you want to do with those 7 years? Svadhyaya. Maybe learn yourself. What do you want to do? How do you want to fill that time? This is how that human nature fits into the divine, and how the divine fits in with human nature. How you can honor yourself and explore that patience. Because time is like a leaf in the wind. Quote, Cage the Elephant. Okay, I did not come up with that one on my own. But truly, time is like a leaf in the wind. Either it's time well spent or time well wasted. This is saying that everything happens, yes, in divine timing. We love that one. But divine timing is your timing. And the more that you learn and understand yourself, the more that you're happy with yourself, the more that you're content with the external and internal processes of everything, the more that you are in, and I say gently, control of what that is through discipline, not trying to control external situations, but controlling the purification of your mind, your body, your spirit, devoting yourself to spirit, to source, to light, to God, to the divine, within and outside of you. Allowing yourself to be so determined to allow divine to work through you. That, of course, you have patience, because you are only as patient as God, as source, as divine, is giving you the perception of. And this is like showing me two sides of a sandwich, okay? You start over here and you end over here, And so this is the patience. But you're being called in the meantime to explore all of the things that go in between those two slices of bread. There is this energy of climbing a ladder, looking at the root and looking at the crown and saying, we are divine and we are manifest. And maybe that svadhyaya, maybe that determination, maybe that cleanliness, maybe that happiness, maybe that self-study or discipline or surrendering to the divine. Maybe it has to do with exploring your intuition, your concentration, your expression, your truthfulness. And here we notice that we have the Ashtangas coming out and the Yamas, okay? We have your concentration. Check out Vineet's reading for that one. We have Satya. Check out the Yama reading, pile number 1 here for this one. We have gratitude. We have love, which came out in Santosha in this reading. We have your sense of self, okay? We have your pleasure, your emotional fulfillment, your connection with the divine through the physical human experience, and we have this manifest taking action. So, the way that you can find harmony within yourself is by honoring a clean, purified, cleanly manifestation of every chakra, and being determined to show up and do your chakra work and being happy about it. Not only are you happy about it, but you're learning about yourself, your individual wave along the way, learning about every single drop of water in that wave that is you, and letting yourself understand that the wave carries what it's meant to and it comes back into the ocean, and then there will never be another wave like that again. So what is patience other than living in the moment and exploring the beauty and the bounty of the life that is here and now today? And that entire beautiful ocean carries the wave. It's not going to drop the wave. And that wave always has access to all of the ocean. Every single drop is interconnected. So I'm going to pull messages for you. We have the Wheel of Fortune and the Temperance. We have some really beautiful things heading your way, perhaps because of your determination, because of your self-care, because of your patience, okay? The first thing that wants to come out is acknowledgement of your patience, acknowledgement of your determination, of your duty, of your mindset, of your efforts, okay? Acknowledgement of your efforts wants to come out. And the way that I'm channeling these messages today is I'm kind of asking the particles of divine consciousness that make up the ideal thought of NIYAMA. So NIYAMA as a conscious energy, divinely guided. Okay, come through and give messages, please. For group numero dos. We have the Three of Wands and the Ace of Wands. Okay. Two of Swords. You have been showing up in a certain way for a while, okay? And you are leveling up. You have been leveling up to a place where it is causing you to perhaps readjust your approach to certain things. There are some things that maybe you let go of that you feel called to reapproach. There are some things that you stepped over because you didn't want to trip on them, and now you might be looking back, wondering, oh, maybe I should have stopped and appreciated that, or stopped and put that in my pocket. And here we have exploring patience. We have 3, 1, and 2, okay, indicating that we could have 1, 2, 3 here. Okay, they're showing me a pickup note in music, indicating that you kind of heard the moral of the story, okay, before the journey began. Or perhaps you experienced that ending before. You experienced 3 before 1, but then you still walked through 2. But because you've experienced 3, you're at number 2. You're at this decision. You're at this place where 2 roads diverge in a summer wood. Okay. We have the 3 of Cups. Interesting. 9 of Wands and the Devil. Okay. We have this energy of waiting for something to happen. We have this energy of divine timing, of patience coming out here. And we have this energy of, with the NIYAMA reading, I'm hearing svadhyaya, self-study, self-exploration. What is drawing you to the thing that you feel you should be holding back from? What is having you feel guarded about walking into the situation that you perhaps have already experienced the end of? Maybe you have had a beautiful meditational experience, and it rose your consciousness to such a beautiful level, and now you're back in your body. We have that beautiful ascended energy, and then you thump, right back into your body. This doesn't have to be the case, but this is the energy that's coming up. It can manifest in a situation too, and we'll get there in a moment. So you experience this beautiful high vibrational level of consciousness, and then thump, right? You're down on the ground, you're in your human body, you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? You're trying to rationalize it. Maybe you have a headache, you're feeling a bit tired, your body is like, hello, I am physical. It's just crazy, right? Beautiful, but crazy. But you've experienced the end goal, and you know how to get there. You know that if you meditate and you do the physical work, you know that if you tapas, if you show up with your discipline, if you show up with your penance, if you show up like it is your duty, that will become your baseline, that base state. And then you're at this place where when it comes to making a decision, you already know how to behave because of YAMA, the way that you interact with the world, and NIYAMA, you've already learned yourself enough to understand 9, what freedom means to you, why you are guarded. We have a little bit of sacral energy coming out here, and perhaps we have the 2 of Swords. Not everything is so black and white, and we have the green, love. Love is in the center. And so we have this moment of connection between that beginning and that end, that center point. That central point is love. It is infinite. It is divine. It is gratitude. So when you are in infinity and you're experiencing polar opposites, it can sometimes start throwing you on that infinity loop and have this disillusionment of time. And what I mean by this is you're exploring patience, but it feels like time is not a matter, so why not right now? Time is not a matter, so why not always? Time is not a matter, so it doesn't matter if it happens. And we kind of have this guarded energy towards 11, self-realization, self-exploration, perhaps humanitarian energies. And standing up and being your individual wave, because you know 3 of Wands, you know that you are that entire ocean. And Ace of Wands, you also know that you're a wave, but you're almost looking back at the entire ocean, saying, okay, can I get to shore yet? Can I get to shore yet? When's the tide coming up? When's the tide going out? And you are being encouraged to enjoy the moment, but also continue learning what are the moments that you are enjoying that you feel perhaps as though you're not supposed to. What are the moments that you feel like you should be enjoying, but you perhaps are not allowing yourself to? In which ways can you explore patience more deeply? In which ways can you learn yourself more deeply? And in which ways can you identify these, expand upon them, purify them, and then give it up to the divine, which you can trust and have full faith in. Why? Because it's you. And this brings us back to the niyamas, to Satya specifically. You can trust in the divine as much as you can trust in yourself, because you are the divine. Do you trust yourself? There is svadhyaya, that is that self-exploration. Why or why not? So then to implement this, we have tapas, the discipline. We have santosha, being happy regardless of any outcome, releasing outcome, detachment. Ishwara pranidhana. And cleaning up everything that is in between. Saucha. Beautiful, easy, simple. A lot of work, right? But also very simple, very easy, very divinely guided. And so we have a situation in your life where perhaps maybe you're highly intuitive. Perhaps you were hearing, my child, go to this place. This will occur for you. And so you have to put in the work. You have to show up, and maybe you have to save up money to go to the place. And then you have to find the flight that goes to the place, and maybe they don't do it that often, and maybe the airline is on strike, so you're having a hard time, and maybe something in your family occurs and you have to postpone this. That doesn't negate the message. It merely is showing you life. And everything is encoded within everything else. And allowing yourself to surrender to the divine. Surrender to your higher self, Ishwara Pranidhana. I will honor this. I will honor this anyway. And I will be happy with it anyway. And they're drawing me to the Anyway prayer by Mother Teresa. I will show up for my duties spiritually, mind, body, spirit, emotionally, anyway. And I will do my best to keep a pure heart, a pure mind, a pure emotional state, a pure spirit, a pure body. Eating clean, loving clean, thinking clean, acting clean, and identifying that when you notice that's not the case, It's something for you to learn about yourself and something to learn about the divine. There's an entire awakening in there, and you are no stranger to this concept. It is now, what do you do with it? Because you've seen the ending. And so this is the journey of expansion in the middle. That harmony within yourself at the level of the mind, body, spirit, thoughts, words, actions. And we have the Four of Cups at the back of the deck. Feeling like you're being held back from something because you either should move on because it's not happening yet, or feeling like you should be there already, or feeling like you should just step over that stone so that you don't trip on it, when in fact it might be that very crystal you've been seeking for many years. I feel called to pull some more cards for you from NIYAMA. We have the Devil letting me know that you might be tied energetically, okay, to something where you feel like you are supposed to be interacting with something, so you might need to make yourself a vibrational match for whatever this is, right? And this is not the case. You are meant to continue showing up for your growth, your connection to God, your connection to Source, your connection to light first. And if you've already seen this and you know it's supposed to exist in your life, in your realm, if you've been shown this, there's a reason for it. However, you are not supposed to focus on something instead of focusing on Source, instead of focusing on God. You focus on your growth, your connection to God first, and everything else will easily flow underneath that. And it will inevitably purify the mind, body, and spirit, because you will be allowing the divine to orchestrate. You will not be concerned about what other people are doing, what material resources are doing, what time is passing, what year it is, what society is doing, because you are experiencing outside of time and space what we call the fifth dimension or higher, because the fourth dimension, you can check this out in science, is the space-time continuum. It is perception. The way that we perceive the realm, which is merely in and of itself a refraction of light. When you focus on that light, the fourth becomes oh so relative. And here we have the space-time continuum, we have the theory of relativity, and that literally says that we all experience things differently. So, allow yourself to learn yourself and see the way that you experience these things. But also purify it. Show up anyway. Be determined and let yourself walk the journey. Just because you see the beginning and you might see the end, that journey in the middle has so much more beauty to it than the thing that you're striving for as well. Seeing the divine in yourself, seeing the divine in others, seeing the divine everywhere and everything all of the time. And when you're guarded towards a situation or you're hesitant towards a situation, you're guarded or hesitant towards the divine. When you are tired of showing up for the discipline, sometimes it's that one last try that changes the script. And this is why we have faith. This is why we are happy regardless of the outcome, because there are no mistakes, merely differences in perception. And all is a refraction of divine perception. And so this is meant, the Angas, the Ashtangas, they're meant to bring you to that divine perception. Okay, I've got some advice for you here. I'm hearing speak now or forever hold your peace, interestingly enough. And we have the star, which is letting me know that there's something that is around you or within you that you really, really want, and you feel as though the time has passed and you shouldn't want this. Or perhaps you feel as though you are done with that period of life. Okay, this is showing me you are too old for something now, or it's been too much time, or you like your life the way that it is, you wish that you had this, but there's no room. It's giving Five of Cups, releasing something, kind of releasing something, wondering why you want something, you shouldn't want it, whatever. Should and shouldn't. Okay, Two of Swords, should and shouldn't. Nine of Wands, creating that wall in between should and shouldn't. Instead of releasing that, your advice is to keep moving forward. The Chariot can also talk about our connection, our relationship with the five physical senses. And so here I'll reference you back to the Yama's reading to check out the Brahmacharya part. But we have this determination towards honoring your higher self, no matter what that looks like. Because sometimes you're being told to turn to the left And you don't find out why that is because you would have found out if you turned to the right. And if you learned the reason why you needed to do the things you did, if you learned the reason why things happened the way that they did, it might have created more accumulation for you to deal with, for you to heal, for you to worry about, or more excitement, which would have created a fire, which would have made it harder for you to be patient, harder for you to show up, harder for you to be determined. There's always a reason, and it always comes back to the way that you would have chosen it for yourself. We just don't always have that perception. So keep moving on. Continue to make the decision to keep working on your foundation, continue showing up, and if a little bit of stress comes up, inhale it, hold it, and exhale it, which is drawing us to pranayama, which is going to be group number 4 in this reading. You are being encouraged to meditate, to, yes, clear your mind, but also explore other chapters of your conscious and subconscious minds. You are aware already that there is a new beginning that is starting for you, and you might be feeling as though you are running around brushing up the edges. You always have enough time. You never have too much time. You never have not enough time. There's a reason why you want what you want. There's a reason why your higher self tells you what your higher self tells you. Your job is to show up. Your job is to have faith. Your job is to keep it clean, keep it pure, keep it right here, get it right, get it tight, okay? And to continue learning about yourself. To continue to be happy learning about yourself, to continue to be happy showing up because you already know. Because the divine shows you in every single way possible all of the time. It is merely how much are you learning yourself and how much are you clearing away the fuzz, the static. We have a lot of decision-making cards coming out here. But trust that you and the divine always make the decision to do what it is you would have selected for yourself with all of the information ever in existence. So show up for yourself, do your self-care, beautify yourself, show up for yourself, learn yourself, honor yourself, be happy with yourself, and give it up to God. Because God is good all the time, God is good. And so are you, group 2. So that is your channeled message from the NIYAMAs. I hope this helped shed love, light, and clarity on your situation, group 2. As always, I'm sending you so much love, light, and gratitude. And if you want to hear messages from YAMAs, group 1, ASANA, which is group 3 here, PRANAYAMA, which is group number 4, or alternatively, if you want to hear messages from Pratyahara, from Dharana, from Dhyana, and from Samadhi, you can go check out those messages on Vineet's channel and the link below in the description box. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, week, month, year, and incarnation in this beautiful realm, and I'm so grateful to have shared this moment with you. I will see you next time, and namaste. Hi there, group number 3, namaste, and welcome to your reading. Today we're taking a look at messages to you from the Ashtangas, the 8 limbs of yoga, and you selected the 3rd group with asana, and you've been called. Now before I dive into your cards, let's talk about asana for a little bit. Asana is the 3rd limb of Ashtanga yoga. Asana, as we often know as the yogic postures or poses, this is what most people are familiar with. This is what a lot of people think of when they think of yoga, and it is in fact the only physical part of yoga. There are 8 limbs that make up yoga, and asana is the only one that involves anything physical. Asana is important because it is where you show up through your physical body in order to allow your body to be a steady, stable, comfortable, and filled with ease manifestation of the spiritual work that you are already doing, i.e. the yamas, the niyamas, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. For many, asana is the part of yoga that introduces them to yoga. Yoga means connection with the divine. Asana means to find a comfortable, stable, and still position of the body, finding easefulness. It is concentration on your sitting posture for meditation. This is why it is so important to make sure that your body is able to sustain, for example, a stable and easeful spinal posture in meditation. Imagine someone sitting, doing meditation, and their spine isn't strong enough to support them. And so they start hunching over, or maybe their neck goes forward a little bit, they start to hunch in their shoulders, or their feet start to go numb. Finding that strength and that ease, this is the purpose of asana. Now, as we know, your spirit, your mind, your emotions, your everything, it is also held in and through within your body. So as we practice the different postures, the different poses in asana, it is a way for you to identify what is going on in your mind, body, and spirit, and bring this back to the center. The purpose of asana is to connect yourself with the divine. It is to, yes, strengthen your body awareness and find more stability and comfort in that vessel, in that home that is our body. And it is just as important as the other limbs. There are millions, literally millions of poses and postures that are part of yoga asanas. And each and every one serves a specific purpose. This is why it is important to honor where you're at, practice them accordingly, and continue to understand and honor your why. Why are you doing the poses? Something feeling yummy and you kind of hearing about a certain direction of flows from someone at some point. This is good because it's someone showing them they don't understand why, but this feels good and it kind of connects you with this part of your physical body. Okay, now you have a chakra to start with. Now you can look up, okay, what is the name of the animal, or what is the traditional Sanskrit interpretation for this posture, for this pose? Because with asana, asana is important because it is a way that you honor yourself. It is a way for you to devote yourself to the divine. Asana is yoga because it is devoting your body to the divine. It is not about sensual pleasure. It is not about becoming fit or losing weight, although it can serve many of these as symptoms. However, just as your mind needs to be stable, sturdy, graceful, filled with ease, so does your body. Now, asana is such a beautiful flower of our practice. It is so important, and it is the third limb of yoga, meaning that once you have created YAMA, right action, NIYAMA, self-harmony, then you are prepared and ready for asana. This is why in Ashtanga and Ayurveda, it is traditional for you to wake up and cleanse yourself, practice your kriyas, then do some self-study, as well as go over your morals, your values, your traditional internal system. Look at your framework and the way that you interact with the world. And from a clean place, with a clean mind, a clean body, a clean spirit, you sit down on your yoga mat and you practice your asana in order to bring that philosophy manifest into the body. And from that, we bring it to pranayama, manifest into the life force. And so this is a bridge between the philosophy and the consciousness. So asana is beautiful. Regardless of how it is being practiced, it is a doorway to further consciousness. It is a doorway to body awareness. It is a doorway to connection and union with the divine, Atman, the true self. As we know, our body is filled with energy channels. You can look at the 72,000 nadis. You can look at a 48 chakra system, a 144, 114, a 36, a 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 3 chakra system. You can look at the 12 meridians. However, one thing we know is that our body is made out of energy, and every posture has an intentional flow of that energy in order to serve a certain purpose, with the intention being to connect one with the divine. And this is why asana practice is important, because You are allowing the divine to work through you, and you are giving your body to the divine. You are creating a lotus out of yourself. You are creating perhaps a tortoise out of yourself. You are creating an energy flow that says, this pathway is not taken very often, or this pathway is a straight shot to higher levels of consciousness. This pathway opens up my heart to love, to gratitude. And this pathway, it shakes open my feminine energies and my intuition and reminds me that I am part of all that is. And this one, it grounds me into right action. This one shakes me into my masculine energy and helps me energize and move throughout the day. Asana is, sure, something that is physically pleasurable. However, that is the least important part of asana. Asana means to be able to fold yourself like a pretzel, bend over backwards, or just lay on your back in Shavasana and be steady, be filled with ease, be devoted to God, and keep a straight spine. You could be folded like an absolute pretzel, but that pretzel is filled with ease, space, love, light, and is sturdy and strong because it is devoting itself to God, and God is devoting itself back. That is asana. It is the bridge between you and all that is. It is the physical difference. It is that silver lining. It is the unseen veil between the ocean and the wave, between the physical and the spirit, and that is why it is the only physical aspect of the 8 limbs of yoga. That is also why it is so important. Whether you are doing Ashtanga yoga, whether you're doing Yin yoga, whether you're doing Hatha yoga, whether you are flowing in a way that feels good for your body, or you are showing up and practicing your tapas, your Raja yoga every day, asana is a way for you to give yourself back to Source. Source gave you you, and you are that source. So we utilize this energy in order to recycle those energies. This is why there are, for example, Raja yoga, where Ashtanga is a part. This is where, for example, there is karma yoga, where we cleanse and we clear, we do the work. There are several different types of yoga, several different limbs in Raja yoga, and through asana, several different types of asana. However, yoga is so much more than asana. And yoga is so much more than the 8 limbs of Raja yoga. Raja yoga is one of several different types of yoga. There's karma yoga, there's bhakti yoga, there's jnana yoga, there's kriya yoga. There is so much yoga out there in the whole wide world that asana is really just the smallest part. But it is important because it is where you show up maybe every day or every week and you honor yourself, but you honor the divine in yourself. And maybe one is the bridge, the gateway to the other. In that same thought process, I also think that's why asana is so easily spread globally, because it is the bridge. And as asana is the physical bridge between the manifest physical realm and all that is spiritually, energetically, through consciousness, through the divine orchestration of beauty and love and light and gratitude, asana is so widespread. It's also important to remind yourself that you do not need to show up on a yoga mat and move your body to be doing yoga. And just because you are moving your body on a yoga mat does not mean that you are doing yoga. It literally means to be stable and secure in a ease seated position. It means a comfortable, steady, sturdy seated position. And this also means in your seat, to have a sturdy seat, but in your mind, to know what you think, know what you believe, know who you are, to know your body manifest, to know that manifestation of self within the grand scheme of the divine, and to understand how the divine scheme of everything is there flowing through you in every moment. And this is why we don't push ourselves into a pose or posture, but we know that we can do it and that it must be done. Maybe not today, and never in a way that harms or hurts ourselves or makes us uncomfortable, but in a way where perhaps with yin yoga, you kind of put yourself somewhere a little bit and then you breathe, and over time you release and relax into it. Or perhaps with hatha yoga, which focuses on a bit of stretching but also strengthening, because each posture connects you with a particular vibration, the intention of hatha yoga. And so with that said, if you're interested in learning more about the why behind the postures, of course you can look into Ashtanga yoga. That is phenomenal, not just the 8 limbs, but the asanas behind Ashtanga. Or you can go ahead and look at the hatha yoga pradipika, because this actually is a large reference of millions of postures and poses and explains their why. How does the culmination of putting this toe over here and grabbing your toe versus grabbing the outside of your foot, how does sitting on your heel versus having your heel pressed up against your thigh, what is the vibrational outcome that you are seeking? And you can feel it, right? Sentiently. You can feel it through your body. You feel it when you show up on your yoga mat and you're flowing and you do what feels good for your body. This is healthy for you. However, there's a reason why there is an asana structure. And it is both. It is important to honor both, of course. Simply because our body is a beautiful tool, but it also needs the mind, the emotions, the spirit, the consciousness to back it up, to receive the largest outcome and to do the most work spiritually, to elevate consciousness, to ascend, to have the true beautiful symptoms that come along with practicing asana, which will include, sure, of course, longevity. You get many, many beautiful physical symptoms and benefits out of practicing asana alone. Isn't it a wonder to think that it's only one part? One very, very small part? So, here we have a bridge. Looking at your card, you've been called. It's very much like asana to the rest of yoga is kind of like tarot cards to an energy worker. Not necessary, but spells it out as a physical manifestation of what is already occurring. And so, it is important to draw consciousness behind this. What is the intention? Why is it the way that it is? And of course, you can read cards and you can understand each individual meaning and put together the puzzle pieces like that. You can put together a yoga sequence, easy peasy. But the deeper that you dive, the more you get out of it. And so here we have You've Been Called, where you're being called to express cosmic consciousness with this blue color here. You're being called to express love for yourself, express love for your body, express love for your preferred type of asana or your preferred body part or your preferred emotion. Perhaps you're being called at this time to find something that you want to work on about yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Or maybe you want to ascend your consciousness. Find the yoga postures, the asanas that support this. Maybe you want to heal your heart. Find the yoga asanas that honor this. Not just stretching your clavicle open as much as you can. Surely, this will be included. However, the energy flow, the stability, and the ease is what you're looking at. You might notice that you start seeing more synchronicities in your life. You might notice that that clarity that you feel after asana, it opens you up not just to having a better day or being able to organize your day a little bit, or deal with the stressors of life a little bit, you might notice that it draws you towards wanting to explore your consciousness. And here we have you drawn into pranayama, the next limb. It is recommended in Ashtanga to practice these limbs in order. And there's a reason for this. So that you are clean when you go up to do your work physically. So that you are not holding energetic clutter when you get onto your yoga mat. So that you do savasana at the end of your practice, because it is the only posture that releases your psoas muscle, which is the only muscle in your body that holds your soul's blueprint. Now, all of you holds your soul's blueprint, but it is the muscle that holds your spirit. As you cleanse your karma, as you do the work, raja, karma, as you do the work here, when you lay down in savasana at the end, it opens up a grand release. This is why it's good to lay on your back when you sleep. What does the concept of asana as a beautiful conscious being wish to speak to group number 3 about? You might be called to maybe take your yoga teacher certification. And maybe this is a call for you to maybe just do your homework about where you're getting that from. Or maybe you are already a yoga teacher, and this doesn't have to be the case. Maybe you are fascinated with movement. Maybe you love Pilates and you understand anatomically why boat pose is healthy, but maybe you feel called to learn about the roots of Navasana and why it comes before and after certain postures. Maybe, for example, you're already a yoga teacher, but maybe you just know that there's more to it, and just leading people through stretches all the time, you feel like there's more. There's something here where you already know that there's more, or perhaps we're speaking to a Kriyavan, or already an Ashtangi. And you're being encouraged to know that there are others out there who are devoted like you. And Kriyavan, also. Now, traditionally, we see people break this, but Kriya technique is not meant to be shared. It is a secret. And so you might feel as though some of the things that you love, you study, you learn, they're either only known by you have a hard time finding a community, or you know that there's more, and you are just perhaps moving and moving and moving, trying to find it. And is it encoded within? Yes, it is. Everything is encoded within your body. All of the information you could possibly seek, including ancient Kriya techniques and rituals, will be encoded within your DNA. Therefore, they're encoded in your thumbprint as much as they're included and encoded in your body and in your soul and in your conscious blueprint. But you've been called to know that I'm hearing teamwork makes the dream work, and that you've been guided to this reading for a very specific reason. You, group number 3. You're showing me Paramahansa Yogananda bringing yoga to the West, and maybe thinking about the roots will be helpful for you at this time. With Temperance in the Sun, we have 7 of Wands. Okay, but maybe it's not cool, maybe it's not trendy, maybe you can't stand on your head the longest. This is not what asana is about. We have 7 of Wands and the 2 of Wands here, which is leading me to with 3 of Coins. Yoga means connection with the divine. Connection with the divine. And oftentimes, asana is used for connection with your physical body. And connecting with the divine and connecting with your physical body in many ways are one and the same, as long as you are not negating one or the other. Just as we are here and we have our feet on the ground just as much as we are spiritual beings, we are spiritual beings just as much as we have our feet in the ground, or our asanas on our mat, or our body in this physical realm. You might feel that maybe you are seeking something that you don't know where to look for. Asana would like to remind you that you can stretch and stretch and stretch, but without the intention, without that light, you're continually digging yourself into a hole instead of bringing yourself out of a tunnel. And anything that has an opening has a close. Everything that has a beginning has an end, and this is important too. But the way that you treat your body is just as important as the way that you treat your mind and your soul, and your emotions, and your thoughts, and your words, and your actions. So balance that however it resonates for you right now, group 3. Are you putting so much attention into your body that it's neglecting the spiritual, the emotional, the mental aspects? Sure, there are benefits that come from one and lead to the other, but having a well-rounded practice, maybe you are focusing so much on the other realms of yoga. Maybe you meditate so much. Maybe you do tons of Kundalini yoga. Maybe you do tons of Pratyahara practice. Maybe you do tons of Pranayama practice. Maybe you're a breathwork coach. Maybe you do Reiki. Perhaps you do Bhakti. However, there will be physical benefits that come from meditation, and there will be spiritual benefits that come from asana. But you're being encouraged to balance this practice and perhaps include mudras into your practice as well, because this is, in a sense, the Hasta mudras are, I say this very gently, okay, because technically this is not true, but it also kind of is. Mudras are kind of like baby asanas for your hands, Hasta mudras. So perhaps adding mudras, and I felt called to pull out the Hakini mudra for your reading, which is why this is coming up. Perhaps adding mudras to your practice will be helpful, but also remember your why. You can start small. Maybe you meditate all the time and perhaps try adding a mudra. And from the mudra, perhaps try finding asana, finding ease, comfort in a different type of position, but make sure your spine is straight. Correct spinal posture is the cornerstone of asana. And while it's so good to stretch and strengthen, and these are benefits of asana, it is not the intention of asana. It is. But when it comes to spiritual evolution, as you grow, as you expand in consciousness, your body must be able to sustain this. And you'll notice that when you access certain bits of consciousness, certain levels of consciousness, your body has an easier time accessing certain postures, with or without the physical effort. Now, of course, the physical effort helps. Just as journaling is great for mental health, yoga asana is great for mental health, but you are approaching your body, you're not approaching your mind. And so asana would like to remind you that it's important to approach your body, it's important to approach your mind, it's important to approach your breath, it's important to approach your spirit, it's important to approach your emotions. And that releasing 1 for 7, or releasing 7 for 1, is merely indicating that there is more of a flower for you to blossom. You might have a hard time finding the direction you go. Maybe you're deciding what type of yoga do you want to practice? Perhaps karma, bhakti, raja, jnana. What kind of asana do you want to practice? Perhaps ashtanga, perhaps hatha, perhaps yin, perhaps vinyasa, right? And for you, we have the sun, the consciousness. Consciousness and almost fighting an uphill battle. When you find that you have a hard time getting into a posture, perhaps visualize yourself in that posture and see what expansion of consciousness comes to mind. When you are, for example, practicing your bandhas, and this goes in hand with your pranayama and pratyahara practice, maybe you notice that there's something that you realize, and perhaps you visualize a certain asana. Maybe include this asana. When you are having a hard time getting into a particular pose or posture, or you feel tight in a particular place in your body, or you feel not as strong as the rest of your body, when you're looking for stability, when you're looking for ease in a certain part of your body, you can approach it through meditation. You can approach it through breath work. You can approach it through YAMA and NIYAMA. You can approach it through all of the other 7 limbs of yoga. Similarly, when you feel like you're hitting a wall in your spiritual practice, you can also come back around to pranayama. You can come back around to yamas and niyamas, come back around to asana. Because as above, so below, as within, so without, and sometimes our mind is totally clear because it's built up in our body somewhere. And sometimes our body is super bendy or super strong because it's processing some emotion for us. And so it's not a one size fits all. It's certainly not a asana is the only way to go. You have to do asana correctly, or you have to do everything except for asana, but the gist here is this is the only limb of yoga that approaches your physical body and asks for physical effort from you. So, just like when you eat, you want to know why you're eating the foods that you eat. What nutrients is your body asking for and why? What have you currently been eating? What do you plan to eat in the future? So how can you do that timeline work in order to do this? What have you been working on? What do you want to work on? There is your asana practice there in the middle. What have you been feeling lately? What honors you the best? And where do you wish to be? There's your asana practice. There's also this energy here that's coming out about don't let your mood determine your actions. Let your actions determine your mood. And this is coming out with asana because you've been called in some way to either ascend your asana practice, include an asana practice, study your asana practice, deepen your asana practice, or understand perhaps that asana is so much more than showing up on a yoga mat. Again, in the beginning, we mentioned how you don't have to even roll out a yoga mat or do anything with your body to be practicing yoga. And just because you're moving on a yoga mat doesn't make it yoga. Now, yoga is connection with the divine, and you are never not in connection with the divine. But that illusion of separation, asana is the bridge. And so you don't want to jump up and down on a bridge between 2 points. You want to be able to walk the bridge as a way to explore all of the parts. And so this is what asana is speaking to you about today. We have 2 twos, 22 activation. How can you activate yourself through your asana practice? How can you liberate yourself without your asana practice or including it? What can you release? What can you release, or what have you released that is leading you towards a future that is gentle for you, but also stable and secure? Asana means to be comfortable, it means to be stable, it means to be in a comfortable, steady, seated position with a straight spine. Asana. So, going back to the yamas and the niyamas, we have brahmacharya, listening to the divine within the self. Ishvara pranidhana, surrendering, giving yourself to the divine. Tapas, giving yourself to the divine. Discipline, showing up in the due diligence. But also santosha, being happy, being comfortable. Being saucha, being clear, being clean. Being purified. And here we have asana. Very much a culmination of all of these things. So make sure that the foundation is filled with goodness. You don't want to build a beautiful tower on an unstable or non-present foundation. But you can build a beautiful tower of asana with a steady foundation and expand from there. So now you are in this place of divine completion, in this place where your asanas connect you with higher states of consciousness. And in your asana, you do focus on your breathing. You do focus on your consciousness. You do focus on the way that you are in harmony with the way that you treat the world around you and the way that you treat yourself. You are honoring yourself and the divine within yourself, the divine within others. You are honoring all of these, and you are seated in any position, whether you're in a pretzel or you're sitting upright or you're laying in savasana. You are honoring that within you. And so as you honor the divine and you honor yourself, you honor your body and you honor the divine equally. So from here, we have what? An inhale and we have an exhale. But what is in between? What does that foundation look like? And this is bringing us to pranayama, the fourth limb of yoga. You are being called to find the practice that works for you. but to find all parts of the practices that work for you, not to pick and choose what is convenient, but what genuinely works for you in your evolution. You're also being called to honor yourself and to release perhaps any preconceived notions about what this will look like in the future for your consciousness, for your ability in your body, for maybe the type of yoga community that you are in, or perhaps even just the way that you go about your life. Because as you walk down the yogic path, you will notice that you start to change. Your consciousness shifts, your body shifts, your desires shift, your morals and values shift. You uphold different principles. Your connection with the world around you and yourself and the divine, they all shift. You'll notice that certain things get released. We hear this all the time, regardless whether it's Western or Eastern or traditional or modern. You show up at a yoga class and it's breathe, focus on your breath, release what doesn't serve you. I'm hearing Ujjayi breath as well, so some of you might want to include this in your practice if it's not already there. And we have this moment of heart-mind coherence, of honoring the self, honoring the divine, and making the choice to devote your practice, your asana practice, your yama, your niyama practice, your pranayama practice, your pratyahara, your dharana, your dhyana, your samadhi practice, honor it to consciousness, to source, to the divine, to all that is, and in the same way you are devoting this back to yourself. And if you feel misunderstood, you are not alone. For what you are practicing, regardless of the way that you practice it, regardless of how often you practice or what type of yoga you practice, what type of asana you practice, you are not alone. And in fact, this is the most ancient and scientific form of health, of medicine, of spiritual growth and development, of connection to the divine, of devotion, of ancient knowledge that we even have access to on our planet. And modernization is beautiful. Honoring yourself and what that means in the moment, that's also beautiful. And also understanding that you're not alone and that there are centuries and centuries of divine perfection that go behind the science that is yogasana. And that if you want to flow around on your mat a little bit too, that's beautiful. There's always more to look. And your cat-cow is just as important to your development spiritually as it is barely even an aspect of yoga at all. So, in a lot of ways, take your practice with a grain of salt, and that grain of salt being in perspective of the divine, that drop of water that is also the whole ocean, but also take it seriously and understand that you are acting on behalf of the ocean. You are that drop that is the representative of the ocean. Every time you have the honor and the privilege of rolling your head from the left to the right, of doing those cat-cows, of showing up for your Surya Namaskaras. Whatever it is you do, however it is you do. Or learning how asana can be more helpful for you in your daily life, in your daily practice. Wherever you're at is perfect, but there is divine perfection, and there are 8 parts of this for a reason. Your body is the bridge between you and the divine, and it's the only part of you that is even possibly perceived as separated from divine, and even that is an illusion. So let your body manifest divinity. Let divinity manifest through your body. And treat yourself as such. You deserve it. The divine deserves it. And trust that you've been called to show up more. Show up more purely. Show up more authentically. Show up more consciously to an asana practice or to your asana practice. And just as we don't press our body, just as we modify on certain days, it's an ebb and a flow, right? Just as we modify our asanas on certain days, and how it's a little bit perhaps easier, a little bit more difficult, a little bit more painful, a little bit more easy on different days than others. The same goes for our consciousness. Okay, it's important to remember that while you are connecting yourself with the grand ocean, whether it's in your body or in your consciousness, it's important to honor yourself, release what doesn't serve you, of course, as always, but also not push yourself and force yourself into a posture because it must be done, but continue showing up gently, authentically, and filled with ease, knowing that eventually you will get into the posture because it must be done. Eventually your consciousness will become unified with the divine because it must be done, but it doesn't have to be right now. It never wasn't this way. But don't press yourself there right away, just like you wouldn't press your knee when it's starting to hurt. Just like you would perhaps do flamingo instead of half lotus. It's important to honor where you're at. And to trust that that is perfect. It's intentional. And that it really only is a drop in the entire ocean. But you get to feel the outside of that drop, and you get to make different shapes and different waves out of that. And you get to learn different communities and learn different postures and poses, and just don't press yourself. Don't push yourself. And know that there's so much more to explore. There are millions of yogasanas that inspire a lot of modern day practices that you'd be surprised. Same with Ayurveda. Same with yoga science, yogic philosophy. Asana is a bridge. It's a cornerstone. It is, in a lot of ways, the gateway between yoga, between ancient cultures, and the entire world today. I know where I live, I can barely walk a block without finding someone with a yoga mat or a yoga studio, and they might not practice Ashtanga, they might not know who Patanjali is, but it's certainly here, it's certainly present, and it's certainly expanding the consciousness of my community. And so, with that, group number 3, this is your message from Asana. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I'm sending you so much love, light, and gratitude. If you would like to hear a little bit about yamas, niyamas, those are groups 1 and 2. If you want to hear about pranayama, that is group number 4. And of course, if you would like to hear about pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, you'll be able to hear messages from them down below in the description box in Vineet's portion of this reading. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope this helps shed love, light, and clarity on your situation wherever you are in your practice a bit. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, week, month, year, and incarnation in this beautiful realm. I am so grateful for you once more, and I will see you next time. Namaste. Hi there, group number 4. Namaste, and welcome to your reading. Today we are taking a look at messages from the Ashtangas. You selected the 4th group with the Cellular healing card and the Anga, or yogic limb, of Pranayama, or Pranayama. Before we get into your cards, let's talk a little bit about pranayama. Now, prana is, as we know, life force energy. This is the energy of the divine. This is energy of source. This is the energy of consciousness manifest that is flowing within and around you. When you breathe in, the energy, the air is the substance, but the energy that gives you that life force from the inhale is prana. When you exhale, you are retaining that prana, and you are releasing energies that need to release from your system. Now, pranayama is the control of the energetic placement of your life force, of your prana. Oftentimes, it is described as breath retention or breathing techniques. And there are a lot of pranayama techniques that are in fact breathwork techniques because this is highly focused on breathing. But pranayama itself is ultimately your conscious direction of your life force energy. Pranayama is often introduced to many in the yogic community as breathing exercises as a loose and highly modernized synonym for pranayama is breathwork. However, there is a slight difference here. Pranayama as a limb of yoga is a way to expand your consciousness. And here we have from asana the physical work of drawing this inner understanding from the yamas and niyamas into your physical body with the asana, and you are drawing this towards control of the life force energy. And the reason that this is manifest through breath is because breath is an action that we take that is on the line between being voluntary and involuntary. And so, through pranayama, you might notice that people who are breathwork masters, they seem to have or be able to instill within themselves superpowers. They seem to be able to have miraculous healing abilities, and this is true. But the reason why this is true is not because some magical yogi or some magical breathwork practitioner waved a magic wand. It is actually because pranayama is the ability to draw your conscious awareness to what we consider to be involuntary processes, such as your breath, such as your heartbeat, such as your body's natural healing process. So, this is why the pranayama practices are breathwork techniques, but pranayama itself means conscious control of life force energy. This is important because the true space of pranayama, that true space that is, it is finding that space between the inhale and the exhale. Yes, there are a lot of breathwork exercises, some that do not include holding your breath. But if you think about your natural inhalation and exhalation process and are not trying to hold your breath, you will notice normal bouts of comfort between the two, where you just are. And this is where you are tapped in with the energy of is, am, om. This is what pranayama is all about. Of course, pranayama is a beautiful way to draw life force to different parts of your body, different areas of your consciousness, to expand and awaken your consciousness, and of course to help you heal. This is helpful for a lot of tangible ways. If we look at breathwork exercises, you're able to, say, implement Vishnu Mudra, and you're able to oxygenate the right side of your brain or the left side of your brain. This is a breathwork pranayama technique that I am mirroring right now. I'm not going to sit down and explain all of the techniques right now because that would be a lot, but you're able to consciously oxygenate the right side of your brain, the left side of your brain. You're able to consciously synchronize the amount of activity on both sides of your brain. You're able to implement mudras. You're able to find that space in between the inhale and the exhale, and again in between the exhale and the inhale. You can do diaphragmatic pumping. You can do different exercises that have different purposes, which will deal with the temperature of your body, the hot and the cold. It will deal with the feelings of your body, the emotions, the thought processes. It will also deal with processes that seem to be involuntary as you draw attention to them. There are so many people on this planet who are so very conscious of their breathing, and there are so many people on this planet who are entirely unconscious of their breathing. And neither are right or wrong, but pranayama is drawing that awareness, drawing that consciousness to a process that is considered or could be considered to be involuntary without thinking. Pranayama is naturally occurring when you sleep. And it's also naturally occurring when you are focusing on your breath, not so much that you are trying to control your breath, but where you are allowing it to occur with ease. You'll notice that a theme of the Ashtangas here is allowing these processes of consciousness expansion to happen through ease and through comfort. When you are, for example, in pratyahara, the anga after pranayama, where if you're interested in learning about this, Vinit's video will be down below. Pranayama is conscious placement of the life force, whereas pratyahara is conscious removal of the life force from the senses. And so if you were to press your life force to certain areas, you will notice that you will need to tense places. And it's important that you are eased and you are relaxed and that you are working within your own realm of comfort, which will continue to grow and expand, become stronger and more flexible, just like asana, just like yama and niyama, just like pranayama, just like pratyahara. And this will allow you then to concentrate and will allow you to expand and meditate and will allow you to connect truly. But you'll have to go to Vineet's channel for that. More about pranayama. Now you selected the cellular healing card, which does perfectly resonate with pranayama. The reason being, because through breath, you are able to tap in again with these processes that we consider to be involuntary. When the fact of the matter is, you are a completely conscious being, tapped from an entirely conscious being, channeled into an entirely conscious being, working through your body. Your cells are conscious, your breath is conscious, the air that you are breathing is conscious, all energy is conscious, and all matter is energy. With cellular healing, you will notice that you'll be able to feel where you might have a little bit of friction in your energy field. You'll be able to tell if it's more comfortable for you to have a longer inhale or a longer exhale. There's information there. You may notice when you breathe, is it natural for you to practice, for example, throat breathing? Or is it hitting the back of your throat, the top back of your throat? Are you lifting your soft palate? Is it through your diaphragm? Are you practicing Ujjayi breath? When you hold your breath, are you clenching? Is it a natural process? Do you feel exasperated? Are you in a bandha practice? These are all things that you can use to supplement and draw information from your pranayama practice. Now, yama has to do with the way that you interact with the world, and prana is life force. And so putting these two together, this is allowing yourself to utilize the infinite, to embody the infinite within yourself. Yes, the way that you interact with the world, but a little less me and you and here and there, and a little bit more you are the ocean and you are human endeavor. You are all that ever has been and ever will be. You are infinite. You are prana. And that yama, the way that you interact with the world, it is you incarnated, manifest as a human vessel. That is your yama. So, pranayama is that line between this. It is that space where you perhaps hold the breath. It is, however, not the act of holding your breath, nor is it the act of breathing consciously, although these are practices that lead you into the space of pranayama. True pranayama is being able to identify your life source and being able to slow down perhaps your nervous system and your heart rate. The ability to draw all of your blood to your organs and have an easier time experiencing the cold. To draw your blood to the outside of your vessel, have an easier time experiencing the heat. And this is one of the most important techniques that is utilized in yoga. They're all important, actually, I take that back, but this is one that is known to be a powerhouse because when you are able to direct consciously your life force, you're able to experience, for example, the miracles of some of the great yogis that have come before us, such as Mahavatar Babaji. And he is known as the deathless guru. body that never ages, does not require food, does not require water, does not require requiring anything, because of course, the mastery of all 8 limbs, but also direction of that life force energy. No astral body floating around, no subconscious versus conscious mind. Barely a distinction, except for the conscious, between what is infinite and what is self. That space in between, that pranayama, that consciousness, that pure tapped in consciousness. This is the space. Now, asana is in your body. Pratyahara, after this, is removing from your body. Pranayama is that space in between. It is that space with access to both. You are accessing your life force. Do you draw it within? Do you draw it without? Where do you draw it and how much of it? And when and why and how? And are you practicing this? So, pranayama is a way for you to experience bliss, ananda, higher levels of consciousness immediately. And I mean immediately. It is a way for you to sharpen your mind, to gain access to larger amounts of your brain. It increases your circulation because of scientific reasons such as oxygenation. But it also reminds you of the part of you that is infinite, omnipresent, and divine. The version of you that is choosing to be in a breathing body, but is also choosing to be in a body that is choosing to breathe. It is remembering that you are choosing for your heart to pump your blood, and that it is not technically a requirement for you to be alive. This is where many yogis experience at the end of their life, when they feel their mission is over, Mahasamadhi, also known as the final Samadhi. Now, to learn more about Samadhi, that will be also in Vineet's channel, okay? But pranayama is truly that connection from the body into the infinite, reminding yourself of that soul, reminding yourself of the conscious choice of your manifestation, of your incarnation, and allowing your body to function healthily, properly, normally, and to some, depending on what they are used to, miraculously. Pranayama is such a beautiful energy and such a beautiful ideology, and it is so much more than breathwork. But breathwork is an important cornerstone to accessing pranayama. Oftentimes we will hear pranayama, as I said earlier, described or defined as breath retention of breath, when this indicates the direction to some breathwork techniques, but not the full extent of what pranayama is. While this is true, there's also more to it. Prana, your life force, that conscious knowing, conscious infinite that is all, divine, conscious source energy. Yama, direction, or retention. The goal in a lot of breathwork exercises, not all of them, of course, even in pranayama, is, yes, to be in a place where you are breathless. This is where we hear things such as the breathless guru, the deathless guru, the everlasting, the always young, the never aging, ageless guru, things like this. Because it is releasing your need for breath, not just holding your breath for a very long time. While these two are the same, they are also quite different. And that conscious state that reflects that small difference or large difference in practice, that is pranayama. It is that conscious state that creates breathlessness but still sustains life. So let's get into your cards. I get so hyped about pranayama, you guys. Anyway, you selected the cellular healing card, which goes perfectly with pranayama. You are being encouraged right now to access something energetically. Now, what is a challenge that you have in your life? It can be emotionally, it can be mentally, it can be with your health. It can be in any area of life. But what is something that you are feeling is involuntary, is out of your control? Now, the object here is not to control your breath or control the situation, but it is in fact to allow yourself to rise above the situation and create ease here. Kind of like when you are feeling really tight and you stretch out a muscle, you kind of spray a little bit of proverbial WD-40 on it, and all of a sudden things flow really smoothly. And it's not because you tried to control the situation, it's not because you tried to control your muscle or because you tried to control whatever was sticky that you sprayed the WD-40 on. It was instead the fact that you knew that there was something that could be done about a situation that perhaps was uncomfortable. There's always a higher perspective. There's always a voluntary aspect to all that is involuntary because we live in a dualistic realm. All that seems to be finite has its root in the infinite. And when you tap into that, you can find, again, the infinite in all that is finite. It's reminding me of a mantra, the infinity mantra. And just as pranayama does not tell you hold your breath really hard as long as you can, it does not tell you go without food as long as you can, super, super hard because you don't need it, grr. This is not telling you you can control any situation that you want. Why aren't you conscious enough and awake enough to deal with it? No. It is the opposite. This is find the ease and find the space. Create the space between yourself and the situation, perhaps. Hindsight, 2020, right? There's space between that inhale and the exhale. There's space between every beat of your heart. And there is space between you and whatever situation is close that you feel like you need to persevere through. You are being encouraged to allow your DNA to activate through pranayama. And of course, the pranayama breathwork techniques I will always recommend you to check out 100% of the time. Anytime anyone says, Colleen, can you help me with, have you tried breathwork? Yes, that is me. But just because I am Vata ruled, it does not mean that pranayama is limited to breathwork. But can it work miracles? Yes. Can you work miracles without the breathwork techniques? Also yes. And that is also part of what pranayama is. Because technically, why is it breath retention? Why are there techniques where you hold your breath? Why is it important to control your breath, to pump your breath, to breathe out of one nostril and then the other one and then alternate them and then only do one and then only do the other? Why? Because it is removing one aspect of what you normally would do to gently remind you that you don't need to, that it is not necessary, that you can control which nostril you breathe in and out of, that you can only exhale and still get sufficient inhale, that you can, for example, find something that seems not to be movable and spray a little proverbial WD-40 on it. And I'm sorry I keep using this analogy, but it's what Spirit is showing me. So with cellular healing, the energy of pranayama wants to remind you that your cells, you are your cells. Your cells are you. You are one cell of the entire universe, and the entire universe is one cell of other universes that are out there too. It is infinite. So, knowing that you are all and you are one, you are a part of the whole, and you are the whole of which there are parts, you have a lot more say than you are giving yourself credit for, regardless of where you are on your spiritual journey. You have a lot more magic than you're giving yourself credit for. You have a lot more voluntary decision. However, we are blessed, actually, to be in nice little done for you bodies with nice little done for you hearts and done for you lungs that just kind of do their thing without us needing to put our life force and attention into it. And that is a gift. It's also a miracle, and it is also, even further, a reminder that we chose that to be the case, because we do get to choose that. So with cellular healing, this has a lot to do with, yes, cellular healing, perhaps radical healing. This would be the group of someone who believes that anything is possible. There are examples all of the time of people who are told that they can never do something again. Perhaps they'll never be able to utilize their legs again, or they'll never be able to do something again, but they put their mind to it. And you know how they say our mind creates our reality? Why is that? Because your mind is electromagnetic. We are beings. Your mind is electric, your heart is magnetic, and in order for us to be electromagnetic beings, that means we are charged with consciousness, which means that what we utilize our conscious energy, that life force, to decide, we implement as a mental task, and then we ground that. Our brain sends a little signal to wiggle your toe and wiggle your finger. Our life force, our will, is what sends the message for my vocal cords to be buzzing and me to be speaking right now. Our conscious will is the reason why you do or do not need to pay attention to your breath. And it is also the reason why you do or do not need to pay attention to your heart pumping the blood throughout your body. Also why you can slow down or speed up your heart rate. Does it take practice? Sure. Is it impossible? Of course not. And if you are able to access this part of you that lies just without this process, this automatic process, then you're already aware of the fact that the process is not automatic. You've just been doing it for yourself for so long. They're showing me someone falling asleep riding a bike, and their legs just keep going, they keep going, and they wake up and they realize that their legs are still going, and they remind themselves that they can change the pace. They can start the bike, they can stop the bike, they can get off the bike, but that doesn't change their consciousness, it doesn't change their awareness or their awakeness. It merely changes their connection, their relationship to the bike. And with that, you are tapped in with the divine current of consciousness. And with that, you are gifted individual consciousness, which is tapped in with everything and sourced into your body. And so, messages please to group number 4 from the energy of pranayama. Another thing I wanted to mention too is that all pranayama practices are not controlling the breath. A lot of them are just drawing conscious awareness to what that innate process already looks like for you. We have the Lovers, conscious decision making. Ooh, the High Priestess. Sorry, group 4. I'm getting excited in your pile. Okay. Pranayama is a wonderful way to strengthen your intuition, to find clarity. As we know, the element of air rules your mind and your speech. It rules clear thinking. It also rules the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis. So with this, drawing conscious awareness to your decisions makes life easier. Drawing consciousness to your body makes healing easier. Drawing consciousness into your relationships makes those easier. You get the point. This is becoming loving awareness. And with the High Priestess and the Knight of Coins, the energy of pranayama wants to remind you that, you know, when you are really upset, or you're really sad, or you're really angry, or you're having an anxiety attack, or anything stressy, you know what they tell you to do? They tell you to count down from 10, or to count to 3, or to take a few deep breaths. There's a reason for this. You ever hear, take a few deep breaths before you say anything? Or if you are stressed or angry, count down from 10. Add a conscious process and some air to your system, and then see how you feel. Okay. Messages please to group number 4 from Pranayama. We have the moon. Okay. This has a lot to do with bringing the subconscious to light, bringing the unconscious to light, and drawing forth your consciousness. Group number 4, if you are looking for a way to expand your consciousness, perhaps increase your spiritual awareness or gifts, or whatever your jam is, whatever your jive is in the spiritual sense, pranayama, and of course the pranayama breath techniques, but also meditating on what pranayama means, can be very beautiful and easily conducive ways for you to create more conscious energy and conscious decision making into your life. Maybe there's something that you've been trying to decide for a long time, or there's a decision that you know you need to make and it's been a bit difficult for you to just make the changes you need necessary. They're showing me a situation here. Your intuition shows you something's not giving to you anymore, and so it's time to make a change. You know that you're intuitively guided and that this is supported in the universe, but it's hard for you to take that next step forward, perhaps, to make that change, to make that once and for all decision. Now, this is where pranayama comes into play. Because the more that you can draw higher vibrations, conscious awareness to the process, to the cycle that is going on, the more that you notice, oh, the moon is full, the tide is high, I feel like this is time to send out intentions for things to wane into the new moon. And energies similar to that. Pranayama is a very beautiful way for you to tap in with your innate spiritual nature. And with the 6 of coins here, it is definitely one that serves your purpose. By this, it will help you understand your life path. It will help you awaken rapidly and draw conscious awareness, help you make decisions, help you speak more concisely. It will help you balance out your brain activity. It will help you to heal anything mind, body, and spirit that you might be having a hard time approaching. And it is also a beautiful way for you to tap into that infinite energy that is the in-between, that is the underneath, that is in and throughout, that is layered on top of everything. You see where I'm going with this? And so here we have the moon, we have the high priestess, we have the temperance card, we have the empress, we have the lovers, right? We have cellular healing. Miracles happen. They happen spiritually. They happen consciously. They happen through faith, through belief. And they're drawing me back again to the deathless guru, the breathless guru. You are able to direct, not control, but direct your life force, the consciousness of all that is. Because you are the consciousness of all that is. It is you. You are it. You are. I am. Om. Am. Is. Beautiful. The sound of the universe, when you hold your breath for just a moment, when you feel what is in between the inhale and the exhale, and you listen, and you hear the sound of the universe, and you feel your heart pumping, when you are drawing awareness to your breath, it really puts into perspective all of those really zoomed in, tangible, physical, material things that you are perceiving as problems, and draws attention to the part of your consciousness that is asking to be made even more conscious so that you can draw attention to why something is being perceived that way. And this is where we have our moon card. This is where we have our intuitive high priestess. This is where we have our co-creative empress. This is where we have our union with the divine lovers card. And this is where we have our angelic spiritual guidance, the temperance card, coming in. Now, these processes require physical effort, as most things do, Knight of Coins. And here, a lot of these are breathwork techniques. A lot of these are easily findable, easily accessible, easily, I'll say, diagnosable, although I do use that term very lightly. And with the Five of Wands, it will show you perhaps where you're holding tension in your body, where your breath is and is not going to. Where is it uncomfortable for you to draw your breath to? Even in yoga, in yin, for example, you ever hear someone say, and relax and send your breath to that place that we're stretching or we're opening, and breathe space into that. There's a reason they say that. Yes, it is for physical benefits, but literally you can breathe space, the breath of life. You can breathe space into any Five of Wands energy that you find yourself coming into contact with. And so here, pranayama wants to remind you that it isn't giving that we receive. It isn't inhaling that we exhale. It isn't exhaling that we are giving. But gratitude is, infinity is, divine is. And with this, you receive and you create. You are led and you choose. You process and then you stop. It is physical and it is spiritual. It heals the cells, and it reminds you that you are not confined to your body. You are not confined to your heart. You are not confined to your breath. You are not confined to anything, not even this realm. You are not your mind, and you are not your body. And pranayama reminds you that through this, you're able to transcend any energy that might make you feel otherwise. And that feeling is valid. That feeling is beautiful. It's also divinely intentional. So we tap into this space of the great in-between and draw consciousness to that. And as we do, you remind yourselves that you inhale and know that you are not your body, and exhale and know that you are also not your mind. And you draw awareness, loving awareness, observation to the natural flow of your breath, and see how drawing that consciousness into the natural flow of your breath naturally shifts it without trying to hold or press or control anything. And then, of course, you can set a new cycle, set a new pattern, set a new technique, set a new breathwork exercise to try. And these disrupt your patterns. They awaken certain parts of your brain, of your body, of your consciousness, and they're beautiful and intentional. And these are techniques that are yogic pranayama techniques. But the intention is to draw consciousness and awareness to your life force, to that infinite part of you, as you direct it in and out through your nose and your mouth, through the organs in your body, through your aura, and you send them out into the world. It also creates space for your inner knowing, your exploration of the realms, and as you pull this energy out of your physical incarnation, out of your physical senses, out of your daily life, this is what we call pratyahara, and this is the next anga in Ashtangas, 8 limbs of yoga. So, group number 4. You might find that there are some things around you that seemingly are unseen, or they seem to ebb and flow in cycles, Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you have clarity, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you give, sometimes you receive. Sometimes you need to do the work, and sometimes you need to let the work come to you. Sometimes the action is physical and it pays off, and sometimes it's spiritual and it doesn't. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you need to make the choice, sometimes the choice is made for you. There is always a self-driven conscious process behind all things. And allowing yourself to breathe through them, and allowing yourself to exist outside of that breath, is something that will expand your worldview. I promise you that. Okay, group number 4. That is your message from the 4th limb of yoga, the 4th anga, pranayama. I hope this helps shed love, light, and clarity on your situation. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, week, month, year, and incarnation in this beautiful realm. If you would like to hear messages from the first 3 limbs of yoga, YAMA, NIYAMA, and ASANA, those will be piles 1 through 3 in this reading here today. And if you would like to listen to messages from limbs 5 through 8 of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, which will be Pratyahara, as I mentioned, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, those will be available in Vineet's video, and you can find the link to his in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here with me today, with us today. Shout out to Vineet. Hey, bud. And I'm sending you guys so much love, light, and gratitude. I am so grateful to be able to share this space with you all, and I will see you next time. Namaste.